Hey folks, Reloading Bench back with you once again. Apologies for the audio. I realized after I recorded that the mic wasn't active, so this is a bit of overdubbing. So I'm going to talk about recycling ammo tonight, and as you can see from what I'm showing on screen, I was at the range this weekend and had a couple of rounds that failed to feed, and you'll see the little bit of damage on the brass that forced the malfunction. But no reason to throw that round away, so we're going to recycle this and reuse all the components, the bullet, the brass, and the lead and primer. So I've got my kinetic bullet puller and obviously the big hole. I'll pop that in, load it up, and as you can see I have a little bit of tape here, and I do that to keep the powder from jumping all over the place. And from there I'll tap it on my rolled steel. So instead of hitting it on the ground or on the garage floor, I tend to tap it a couple times on that rolled steel and it pops right out. Get the camera back in focus, and I will dump what's left of the powder, the bullet, and kind of everything into my funnel tray. Bullet is completely reusable, no damage to the bullet, so that's going to get set aside for reuse. And now what I'm going to do, as you'll see, is have to deal with the live primer. And I've done this, there's a lot of folks who don't want to touch a live primer. I have no issues decapping a live primer. So what I'll pull out is my Lee universal decapper, and I'll set that up on the bench press. As you can see, it's loaded into the turret, and I will yank out the primer catch tube because I'm going to want to catch this particular primer and not mix it in with anything else. So there's my live primer. I'll put it in the decapper, go very slow. In fact, I'll let the ram kind of just move down freely, and it's ready there for, as that hands-free. The next slightest pressure will pop that primer, and you usually hear a little bing, but because of my oopsie, we have no audio, so you'll just have to contend with my voice and no background noise. So there's the damaged brass, throw that away, and bring out a new piece of brass, once fired brass, and also put that through the deprimer. Put the tube back on so that we actually catch that primer, and that will deprime quite nicely. And as you can see, what I'm going to do here is reprime, but what I should have done is put on my other dies so that I could resize that. So what I've done now inadvertently is reprimed a once fired piece of brass, which I will shortly realize here momentarily. And then I'm going to go through the whole process again of depriming, only this time I'm going to do it with the resizing die, something I would not normally do, but call it lazy. I'm also going to be a little more cautious with this because it's a much tighter fit to the brass. Cut that out, and there we go. So that's good now. So we'll essentially start over with this piece of brass. I've essentially resized it. I'm repriming. And now we're good to go with a fresh piece of brass and a live primer. I'll move this over to my powder drop, and what I will screw into the powder drop, once I show that the bullet is fine. I don't have the powder drop attached to this. This is just for belling the mouth of the brass, as you can see, and the bullet will sit quite nicely into that without dropping out. So we're ready to go. move it over to seating the bullet. I'll drop the powder in. I love this little funnel. So it's a funnel as well as a powder tray. And of course, not all the powder wants to drop out, so I'll grab a paintbrush, small paintbrush, and get all the granules to drop into the casing. And it's just way too quiet without all the background noise. So now we can seat the bullet. Nice easy stroke. Move it over to crimp, and we now have a remanufactured bullet by recycling all of the components due to a damaged piece of brass. So the big upside on reloading. That's it for now. Take care.